Okay, so we're back on the flight deck of the Nimitz, and this is where we left off in the last video. And as I explained in the last video, I already did a little bit of like shading, as you can see here, to try to match reference photos a little bit. I also mentioned that this kit has these two little extensions on the end here, but when you look at the real thing, they're not there. Also, I didn't even realize at the time, there's another one right here that you can see is attached right here. But when you look at photos, that's not a thing. That does not exist. So I will also be cutting that off. But I want to continue on with like shading and weathering of the flight deck. And I'll be honest, this is something that I've always kind of struggled with as far as, painting. And that's weathering and fading and detailing and stuff like that. So I'm going to go for more of a minimalistic look, I guess. I want to get some dark around the catapults, and I want to get some dark here where they land, and I want to try to lighten up some of the other areas here, and then get some decals on and some other stuff, and then that should be pretty good. Now also you'll notice that the white dotted line coming along this way that I did here, well, what I did is a whole lot more visible than what that is. Same with these here. What I did is a whole lot more visible. So I think the first thing I want to do is lighten those up a little bit. I want to fade them back a little bit. And I think the way I want to do that is by sanding. So I'll try this sanding sponge. This is a 600 grit. And so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut off a little bit of this. And I don't want to sand away the gray. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tape off right about like that. And hopefully I don't screw it up. But I just want to lighten that stripe a little bit. I don't know if I want to get it as light as this is in the photo, but it's definitely, and you can see here, like it's more visible here, and then it gets a little bit lighter. So it doesn't even have to be even, but I think I just want to lighten it a little bit. So we'll just kind of see how this goes. And I actually went a little too far there. Right here, I actually started going through the gray, which I was kind of afraid of. So what I'm going to have to do now is remask that and just do the gray, which, I mean, I'm liking the white right there, and that's even okay. But I went just a little bit too much. So I'm going to keep doing that. I'm not going to make you watch all of that, but I'm going to keep doing that here and then these, and then I'll remask off and redo the gray in between the white. And then see what that looks like. So let me just do some more work here and I'll come back and show you what it looks like here in a little bit. Okay, so I did the same thing with the rest of that and with these, and I got smart with the rest of it, and I actually taped in between the stripes with this so I wouldn't sand through the gray. But after I did that, I kind of realized it was probably a waste of time, because what I ended up doing was going over the whole thing very misty, very light with that same base coat gray, and that lightened up the white here. I even got some on the white here and on the yellow and white stripes here. Again, just to match kind of the darker and lighter areas from the photos. And so I'm getting a lot more like unevenness with the coloring. I don't know how well it's showing up in the video or not, but it's every time I do stuff, it's looking a little better. The next thing I want to do now, the next part I want to focus on now are the darker areas. The darker areas around the catapults here and right here where the airplanes land, and there's a little bit here and a little bit here and a little bit back here. So I want to focus on getting those darker areas put in. I want to let this dry a little bit more, but the way I'm going to do that is, you see, I'm not, like I said before, doing this kind of work is where I really struggle the most. I'm not that good at what I'm trying to do right now. So for me, I think this looks pretty good. For someone else, maybe not so much, but for me, I think this looks pretty good. Or it's getting there. It's getting closer to what I'm looking for. Now, I am not very good at freehanding with the airbrush. Like to do a straight line, because ideally what I would do is just freehand this dark around those areas. But if I tried that, it'd be all wavy and it'd just look bad. So to give myself some guidance, I'm going to make a mask, but I don't want a hard edge. I want like a faded edge. And so what you can do then, if you take tape, masking tape, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it very well with this because it's a little bit thin, but if you roll it, kind of like that, and I think I need some wider tape to do this with, but this is just to give you an idea of what's happening here. Hopefully I have some wider tape. Roll it so it's round like that, and then just stick that down. Like if I wanted a black foggy edge along that side of the catapult, by putting that on it and then airbrushing straight down, that'll give me a faded edge instead of a hard masked off edge. So that's how I'm going to do those. So I'm just going to make masks. And another way you can do it is simply by taking a sheet of paper, cutting out the shape that you want, and then taking your tape and just make some loops like that, and you just stick the tape onto the surface, stick your paper on top of that. That'll leave about a 1/2 inch gap between the edge of the paper and your model, and that'll also leave you a nice faded edge and not a hard line. So that's the plan. I'll use both of those methods to get these darker areas here and along here. But again, I want this to dry a little bit better before I start putting tape on it. So I'll get back with you here in just a moment, show you what the masking looks like, and then we'll paint it and then see what it looks like after that. Okay, so this is where we're at so far. I've got the dark painted around here. Now, if you remember, the catapult tracks originally I had painted flat black. But after I did the dark shading around it and I took the tape off, it was just too black. It was too dark. And then looking at reference photos again, you know, I noticed that they're actually not black. They're more of a gray color. But like I said before, it kind of depends on what photo you look at. Like here, they look more black, but these look more gray. But they look kind of black-gray splotchy. It's not just a plain gloss black. It's a really kind of a splotchy mess of black and gray with a darker black around it. So what I did was I remasked them off, and I went over it with the gray color that the hull gets painted with. And I did it really light and kind of splotchy. And I'm kind of noticing now that it's almost a little too splotchy, maybe. I mean, I don't think it's terrible. It's definitely better than it was. And no matter what I do or whatever you do, it's still going to look a whole lot better than the decals that come with the kit. Now, even though, or even after I went over it with this, it was a little bit too gray. At least in my opinion, it was a little bit too gray. So then I went over it with this Vallejo wash. It says for gray vehicles. It's just a light wash, and I just used a normal paintbrush, and I just went over those tracks with the wash, and that helped. That toned down that gray a little bit, and I think that was kind of the key to make them look halfway decent. So they're definitely better than the black. They're loads better than the decals. I think for now I'm somewhat happy with them. I think it's, for the most part, it's looking very similar to the reference photos. I am by no means going to say it's perfect, but I do believe that it's good enough, but I still think it could be better. And this is where I struggle, because I look at it and I'm thinking, you know, for me, I think it looks good for my lack of abilities. I think it looks pretty good. It looks very similar to the reference photos, but there's a part of me that's thinking it could look better, but I'm at the point to where I don't know how to make it look better. I think it's one of those things to where if you just saw this without reference photos, I think it'd look pretty good. But it's not exactly like the reference photos, which I fully expected I wasn't going to be able to get. But I don't know. I'm thinking it looks pretty good. I got to think about it more on as far as if I want to try any more washing or shading or whatever. But for now, I think it's looking good enough, except for right back here. That area here, it's a little too, I think the color's okay, but it's a little too, like, I don't know, soft. Because this is where the airplanes land, so it should be a little harsher. So I think what I'm going to do there, there we go. I mean, it's not terrible, but I think what I'm going to do, I have this paint that's simply just called rubber. This is enamel. What I put on there was this. This is tire black. And actually, I kind of screwed up before. When I painted this area, I meant to grab that darker gray, and I accidentally grabbed the tire black, which they're almost the same. And this is almost the exact same color. So yeah, the tire black color wasn't quite doing it for me. That's what I tried here. Now, somebody left a comment on the last video that, you know, this is where the planes land. This is where the catch cables are. So that dark area is the rubber from the tires. And I didn't realize that apparently they have to clean that off or scrape it off on the real ship once in a while. But to me, that doesn't quite look right. What I'm going to try to do is use this. And a while ago, I bought a pack of these rubber-tipped brushes. They're for glue or whatever, because apparently I like wasting money on useless tools. I don't know. They're okay, I guess, but I don't know. It is what it is. But I'm gonna dip this in here and just kind of, I don't know if that's a bad idea or not. The nice thing about this is enamel. And if I don't like it, I can take some enamel thinner and wipe it off. And that won't affect what's already there. So, I don't know. I hate to do this on camera. I should probably use a normal brush. So I wiped most of that off. I don't think that's terrible. I don't even think you guys can really see what's happening there. That's giving kind of that effect. I don't think that's a bad idea. I mean, not as bad as I originally thought it would be. Kind of hard to get it on camera, because that looks more shiny, like a glare. But I mean, I think that's given me the effect I'm looking for. I think I just need to even it out, getting those strokes a little bit straighter. I'm going to leave it like that and see how I feel tomorrow. I'm thinking, I don't know how well the lighting is working for the camera, but I'm thinking that looks pretty good. I mean, you might not agree, but I'm looking at it for real, and I'm looking at it through my camera, and it definitely looks better for real. I don't know if it's the glare. I don't know what's going on. But I think I'm going to leave that and let that set for now, and see how I feel in the morning. And then I think tomorrow, I don't know, maybe I'll add the blast doors. Now I'm going to have this blast door up, that one or that one. I got to pick one. Probably this one. Have that one up, have the other three down, so I can get those blast doors in, at least the down ones. I don't want to put the up one in until later, just so it doesn't get knocked or broken off. So I'll get the blast doors in, maybe some other details. There's a bunch of decals that can go around here. But for now, I think I'm pretty happy with this. Notice I took that piece off right there because we don't need that. But so far, I am pretty pleased, I think. I mean, like I said, I'll look at it in the morning and see how I feel then. But like I said, I wish I was better at this kind of stuff. I actually enjoyed doing all of this. I just wish I was better at it, is all. But anyways, we'll get back at it in the morning. So see you then. Okay, so let's talk about these decals. I've got this one on, and it's on, and I think it's stuck down pretty good. But I had some issues with it. Let me show you the decal sheet. Now, overall, the decals themselves are nice. They go on well. They don't take that much time soaking in water before they come off. They're thin, so they go down flat and nice. I mean, I know there's no real compound curves here so far, but they're laying down very nicely. The opacity is good, meaning that the white is still white when you put it on a darker color. So, overall, the decals are nice, but I hate them because they're so thin. And so the thing is, like, for example, to put that stripe on the elevator, you have to cut out the stripe. You can't just cut straight across because there's stuff in the middle. Now, if there was nothing in the middle, you could just cut straight across, and that would just be one big decal over top of there because there's the clear carrier film. And, of course, that would cover all of the little tie-down points, and it might not look as nice. So you wouldn't want that anyways. So you have to cut out the skinny little strip all the way around. Now, I knew if I put that in the water and then tried to take it out of the water and place it on here, it would curl up, fold up against itself. It would just turn into a mess. So what I did with this one was, after I cut out that thin stripe, I put it on here, and then I dripped water over top of it until it came free. Then I just slid the backing paper out from under it, and that kept that down flat. However, even doing that is still broken about 4 pieces. Each corner broke. It broke along the side here. So I'm going to do what I thought I needed to do anyways and just cut it into about 3 pieces. I'll cut each straight section and just do each straight section one at a time. Now, even after I got it in position and pressed down flat and it dried, I went back to check it, and as soon as I touched it, it came to pop loose. I think that's an issue with the paint, not the decal, because this is kind of a flat paint. Decals work best on a gloss paint, not flat paint. So what I did, I brushed over it with some solvent and let that dry. And then when I came back after it was dry, that is now down nice and smooth. So you definitely need the solvent. Now I'm not going to go picking at it, but as best as I can tell, that is down pretty well. I don't think I have to worry about that coming loose. Now, once these are all on, I will go in with an airbrush and just lightly airbrush areas of high traffic with the same base color. Not to cover it, but just to kind of make it look a little bit faded. You know, where the airplanes would have rolled on and off. That way it doesn't look like a brand new painted line. That way it matches the white a little bit better as far as, you know, fading and newness of the paint. So those decals are going to work. They're just a little bit, I don't want to say problematic. They're just a little bit tedious and time consuming is all. Now, some of the other decals, for example, the 4 yellow squares that I've already tried one on. Remember, there's a clear carrier film. Now, those yellow squares, they go around the blast doors here, the blast shields there. And if your blast doors are lowered, then the clear carrier part is just over top of it, and you can see through it, and it's not really that bad, but it does make it a little bit shinier than what it is now. Which again, I could go over it with a flat clear to fix that. But remember, I'm going to have this one over here is going to be up. So if I were to put one of those over this one, I've got the clear carrier that would be in the way of the little supports that hold the blast door up. So that wouldn't work for that one. So my thought, you know, I put this one here first. I mean, it's not there, obviously. My thought was after it was dry, I would go along with an X-Acto blade and cut out the center part, but that just destroyed it. That yellow line is way too thin for that, so I basically destroyed that decal, which is fine because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mask it off. I'm going to mask that off and then airbrush the yellow line around it. And that should work okay. Some of the other decals that I tried and removed because I didn't like them. There are 2. One goes here, one goes here. And here's what one of those decals looks like. I don't think the white is going to show up on video very well. But that's what one of the decals looks like cut around the white. But again, there's that clear carrier film, which on the model would be fine, except for the fact that the center part of that looks shiny, which again, like I said, I could put the flat clear on it, but that flat clear probably wouldn't match the sheen of the rest of it, so you would still probably see an issue there. Here's one of those that I put on, but then took back off because I didn't like it, and you can see the clear. You can see that clear film. They were easy to take off. Just put a piece of tape on it and they pull right off. But even if it weren't for that center clear carrier film, the white was still too bright and white, and it didn't match the fadingness of the rest of the paint on the deck. So what I did was I just mixed up my own white wash. I used enamel white with enamel thinner, made a really thin white wash that I could just touch into the grip, because those lines are scribed into the deck. So you just, like, with a little skinny brush, just touch it on and it'll flow into that line to where you can see it. I don't know if I was supposed to, but I went ahead and did some of those others. They're a little bit faint. I don't know how well you can see them in a video, but they're there. Whether I was supposed to or not, I don't know. So there's those, and also those two here and here, which again were decals, but they just didn't look right. So I took the decals off and painted them, hand painted them. So for right now, what I'm going to do is, and this is the one that would go there. That one goes that way, or that little one right there that goes at the end over there. I'll put that on later. But I'll put that one on there. I'm not going to do it on camera because, again, like I said, it's very time consuming and tedious. So I'll just show you what it looks like when they're done. So that's the next step for me, is to finish the red and yellow stripe decals around the elevators and mask off and paint around the blast doors. Okay, this is where I am so far. And I've got the deck as far as I can tell. I think I'm pretty happy with the deck. And I think it looks pretty good compared to reference photos. I am very happy with it. Everything is paint except for the red and yellow details around here. Those are the decals, and I had plenty of issues with those decals. Basically what I ended up doing, and I forget what I've already said in the past. It's been weeks since what you've seen a few minutes ago. I ended up cutting the decals into 3 pieces, like each length. Even then, they would want to break and fall apart. And after the decal was on with the water, I let it dry for a few hours. And then I would go over it with a solvent. I would just brush a layer of the solvent over it and just let that set overnight. And that seemed to really work. So I'm very pleased with those decals, the way they came out. Here's the one that goes here. So I continued the stripes along there. And looking at reference photos, this one also has that marking there. I'm assuming that's to guide where they park the airplane. I'm thinking, I don't know. And the other elevator on this side here had the same marking. So I just masked that off and put the same marking on that one. And the other 2 elevators that go here, as best as I can tell from reference photos, there was no marking on them. They're just plain, so I left them plain. And those are the same. And the only thing left paint-wise on this, and you'll notice that the blast shield is not installed here. I'll put that on later. The others are in a lowered position. So the only thing paint-wise that I still need to do are the numbers at the front here. And the kit decals are not quite right looking at reference photos. These are the kit decals. The problem with these is that they are solid white. And when you look at reference photos, they should be like outlined, if that makes any sense. And so what I did was I did some image searching for the lettering. And again, here you can see how they're supposed to look. And so I basically did an image search for lettering fonts. And the closest thing I could find that matches that font is called Jersey font, or Jersey, what was it, M54 font or something like that. So I took some samples of that and loaded it to the Cricut vinyl cutter. Let me show you what that looks like. So this is a Cricut Explore Air vinyl cutter. I found this at a thrift shop for about 60 bucks. And it sat on the garage floor for probably 6 or 7 months before I decided to do anything with it. And the reason why I bought it is because I've seen other model makers use these to make masks or templates for airbrushing, and I thought it would be very handy. But I never, when I got it, I had no clue how to use it, so it just sat unused. And so now it's like, okay, I have a use for it. I could actually use the thing. So basically what you do is you load in some vinyl sheet, sticky sheet, whatever. This thing right here is a blade that cuts it. It's got a sharp X-Acto blade on the end. well, not an X-Acto blade, but it's got a sharp blade at the end that will cut your shape. You can put a marker here to draw pictures. And there's, I don't want to do a whole video on this because there are more than enough Cricut videos on YouTube. Some might argue too many videos on YouTube. But if you have any questions at all about using this, and again, I consider myself very new to this. This thing has so many features and functions that I will never use. I'm probably only going to use this a couple of times a year to make airbrushing masks is all I'm going to do with it, which is why I couldn't justify paying the $200 or $300 that these things normally cost. But when I saw them for $60, I went ahead and bought it. So anyways, this is an example of some of the vinyl. It's got a back that peels off, and then this is like a sticky. And I don't know how well you can see it, but there's what the machine cut. And so what you do is you go in and you remove what you want painted. So for example, if I can pick that out, so pull that out. So there's that piece. And then I want to pull out and there's two different types of vinyl from what I understand. Again, I'm fairly new to this, so correct me if I'm wrong. But there's a permanent vinyl and a temporary vinyl. And for making masks for airbrushing, you want temporary vinyl because you want to be able to peel it off the model later. Okay, so there's what it looks like with that removed. And so the next step would be to cover this with masking tape, or they actually have special tapes called transfer tape. You stick that to the top, then you peel all of that off of the back. You peel all that off the back. Then you stick that to the model. Then you peel your transfer tape or masking tape off, and that leaves you with a mask for airbrushing. And so ideally I would stick that to the deck, airbrush it, and then that's it. The thing is though, after I cut this, I was comparing it. Now I did make it smaller because remember these figures or these numbers were too wide. And if you do it the way the kit has, they actually go on top of the catapults. But every photo I've looked at, they are between the catapults, not on top of the catapults. Again, just comparing that to this. Notice how they're between the catapults, not on top of the catapults, the way that's shown. So I scaled my my cutout, my mask. I scaled it to match the way the photo works. And so that will fit between the two catapults. But again, the thing is, the font is not quite perfect. You'll notice the opening in the inside of that number there, that square opening, it's way too small here than it is here. So the proportions are not quite right. You can tell the proportions around here and here, they're just not right. The again, so the openings here are too small. Now here's the thing. I have never been that good at photo editing. I don't have Photoshop. Everything I do is on my iPad. I have a photo editor app on my iPad that I absolutely hate. It's horrible. But of all of the free ones I've tried, I can use it the best, but it's so tedious and frustrating to use. I was getting very irritated with using it. A friend of mine at work is very good at using Photoshop, and I showed him like these figures and how I want the outline to be. So he's going to modify in Photoshop so I have a more accurate mask. So I'm still waiting for that. So as soon as he gives me his the image that he made for me, I'll recut out new masks, and then I can apply those to the deck. I don't know when I'm going to get that, so I don't know if that'll be this episode or the next episode. But that's where I am on the numbers. I'm this close to having good numbers. I could probably use these and nobody would notice. I could probably like stretch them out and not, I don't know. But I would like it to be a little bit more accurate than what this is. This is close, but not quite right. Worst case scenario, again, I could use this and probably nobody would notice. But like I said, I want it to be more correct. Now, since I've been playing around with this, I also have some material that's an iron-on material, not a sticky material, but it's an iron-on. Sometimes it's called iron-on, sometimes it's called heat transfer vinyl. And I've been playing around with that. And I made some iron-ons. This is my iPad cover. It's all, you know, beat up and worn out and falling apart, so I need a new one. But look what I did. This is iron-on vinyl. I just found those images online. You can just save an image and put it right to the Cricut software. When you get a Cricut machine, there's a software you load on an iPad or a laptop or whatever. And just download the image and print it out. And the thing is, just like I had to remove what I wanted to mask, I had to remove those pieces. I had to go through and pick out all those little pieces and then iron it on. And that just gives you an idea of the capability of this machine. And this alone right here, the ability to do this made that well worth the 60 bucks I paid for it. But that is just absolutely incredible. I am very happy that I can do something like this. I mean, just the amount of detail you can get in there is just incredible. And you walk down the aisle of the craft stores, and there's every color imaginable. There's metallic foils, iron-on, sticky back stuff. I mean, just absolutely incredible. So for the crafting world, I mean, this thing is well worth. I mean, I can see crafters using this thing on a daily basis. For model makers, just making master airbrushing, again, well worth the money for what the machine does. But I am very pleased with this. That is super cool. So anyways, what I'm going to do is see how long this video is. It's probably way too long. I think I'm just going to wrap this video up here and go ahead and send it. So yeah, as I was saying, in the next video, I will finish the numbering of the deck. I will probably also start working on the walk or the netting. There's netting along here I haven't painted yet. I need to continue the netting around here. But again, finish the painting, install the catch cables that go across here, and whatever else I can get into. I don't know. So that'll be the next video. Until next time, thanks for watching.